Color guard, post the colors.
Present on. Order on. Right face. Forward march.
Do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Right now, we're going to do a special presentation to a veteran that's here today. If his son would please bring him up. John Zellers, you're being honored up here at the podium. This is a special presentation for John Zellers. We appreciate you coming here today. And we have a citation from the House of Representatives for you, which I will read so you'll hear it and everyone else today will hear it. It says, whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania is always pleased to celebrate those individuals who, through service to our country, uphold the principles and traditions set forth by the forefathers of this great nation. And whereas John A. Zellers is being honored for his dedicated and distinguished military service during World War II. And whereas born in Harrisburg on May 23, 1920, Mr. Zellers served this country with honor and distinction as a member of the United States Army Air Corps. After joining the military on January 5, 1942, he trained in Jefferson Barracks, Missouri, and was stationed at Hunter Field in Savannah, Georgia, prior to deploying overseas in December 1943. Mr. Zellers served with the 86th Airborne Squadron in Burma and was reassigned to the 83rd Squadron, 12th Bomb Group in India. During his tenure, he was the recipient of the Bronze Star for meritorious achievement for defusing the firing mechanism of an armed bomb that had dropped onto the runway as a result of a fighter aircraft's takeoff accident. Mr. Zellers later served as crew chief of a bomb loading team, and he was honorably discharged on October 28, 1945. Having served with distinction throughout his military career, he wore his uniform proudly. Mr. Zellers brought proficiency and experience to his challenging assignments, and his conduct, performance, and devotion to duty reflected his allegiance to the highest standards of military service. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pays tribute to John A. Zellers for enduring countless hardships, making untold sacrifices, and placing himself in harm's way to defend and protect the cause of freedom, offers best wishes for every future success and happiness. We thank you very much.
Skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fronted plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee. with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God meant thine every blow. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, my God, thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot's dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
And now we're going to do the POWMI Remembrance Table.
Good morning. As you entered the hall this morning, you may have noticed the small table set in the place of honor here in the front to my right. It is set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWMIA. We call them brother. They are unable to be with us this morning, and so we remember them this way. The table set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember. The red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith awaiting their return. Remember. The red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbons worn upon the lapel and breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this morning. Remember. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember. Remember all ye who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and aid, and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember.
As a state representative, some people like us, some people don't like us. But we're always kind of honored and have a little bit of prestige, and people let us sit up front. But truly, when I think of my job and what the veterans have done for this country and for me, everyone here should be honored a lot more than what we do in the Capitol. So I truly, truly appreciate your service for us. My first remembrance of the military was when I was very small and my dad was going into the Navy. And I can still remember standing on a chair to kiss him goodbye. I didn't really know where he was going or what he was doing. It didn't mean that much to me at the time. But then I remember we were going to my Uncle Ralph and Aunt Jenny's, and my mother told me that Uncle Ralph had been wounded in the war. And I still can remember him just sitting there on the chair, and that wasn't the person I knew years before. Then I can remember his funeral and the 21-gun salute. That's the first time I ever heard a gun being shot. And then I think it was either second or fourth grade, I came home from school, and my dad was recalled into the service, and I never saw my mother upset, but she said, I got this letter. She said, I know your dad was recalled. And that's what he was. And still, I don't think I really understood what was going on because, he left the house, and I would, he'd send me things, and I think probably some of you veterans sent the same thing home to your kids. This is one of the dolls that I still have from then. But we had this mailman. He was also a Sunday school teacher. His name was Ken McCacken. We always called him McCacken. And when I really realized what war was, I'll never forget a Saturday evening when the phone rang, and we were told that McCacken's son was killed in the Korean War. So that's when it really, really hit me what war was all about. Then in the Vietnam War, which was kind of, my age when my friends were leaving, and I had a friend killed in the war, and it was interesting because his mother told me that she was out in the yard on a certain day, and this helicopter flew over, and she said, at that instant, I knew that my son was killed. And when she found out when it was almost to the exact time that they could tell her. Then we have, the present day war that's still going on, and we have these men coming home. And I hope you don't all know, but I know some families that their sons came home and committed suicide because they couldn't handle everything. A couple years ago, I hired a gentleman. I didn't know he was in the military, but I placed him at a desk in front of a window, but when you came in the door, his back would have been turned towards it. And he changed my whole room around, which didn't make me real happy because I didn't know what he was doing, but he said that, he didn't want to be there when he couldn't see somebody coming. He had to cover his back. And then he told me he was in the military, and it brings a lot of understanding to me what is really going on. I also know other gentlemen and women that come home, and they're very quiet. They don't say much. In fact, most veterans don't. But I just like to read this poem that just kind of reminded me of the people that are coming home now, and they don't say a lot. It was by Penny Rock, and it's before the war. I wonder what's the matter with him. He's not the way he was before. He's not the way he used to be, the way he was before the war. He had no way of knowing what horrors were in store. Then communication ceased when he went off to war. He left while only in his teens. Now he's so much older. The warmth of his youth is gone, his spirit so much colder. His eyes look deeply haunted. He has no joy anymore. He doesn't laugh and rarely smiles. He stares down at the floor. He speaks in cryptic code. He talks of blood and gore, then lapses into silence since he came back from war. I wonder what he saw there that fills his eyes with fright. All those unknown terrors keep him awake at night. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce our Larry Carter. Sergeant Larry Carter was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and graduated from Lawrence High School. After graduation, Larry enlisted in the U.S. Army and volunteered to go to Vietnam, where he served 18 months in the 1st Air Cavalry Division. Larry received the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Army Commemorative Medal, Air Medal, Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, and several other medals for his service to our country. Larry is the co-founder of the Pennsylvania Concerned Citizens for POW MIAs, and along with his wife, Carol, founded the 1st Air Cavalry Division Field Cross Detail 25 years ago. I am also pleased the detail is here with us again today to help us pay tribute to those who served. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Larry Carter.
This past summer, my wife and I went up to Maine for a vacation. It was the first time we had a vacation in 25 years. And we went to, I can say it because I'm from New England, Bar Harbor, Maine. And up there's a mountain called Cadillac Mountain. It's 1,530 feet high. It's the highest point on the east shore. And then we went up there, and it was a beautiful day like it was today. And you can see the Atlantic and miles away, and you can see it come, the Atlantic Ocean coming over to Bar Harbor, and then off to the woods, in, the United States. And I was up there thinking, wow, it wasn't really all that long ago that this country was started. And we started from nothing, people coming over from Europe, to the greatest country this world has ever seen. There's other countries that have our freedoms too, but we protect the world. Every time there's a storm or a disaster someplace out in Europe, Africa, South America, the United States is there first to help with aid. And the only reason we're ability to do that is because of your gentlemen and ladies who served in the United States Armed Forces. It doesn't matter if you were in the Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Navy. It doesn't matter if you were swabbing the deck in the Navy, you were a cook, which you need them. People working in the post office, everybody worked together for one cause. It doesn't matter what your job was. If you didn't have a cook, we would go hungry. If you didn't have the post office, you wouldn't get mails from home saying, from your loved ones. Every job was important. If you think about it, we got 330 million Americans. 1% joined the service to protect this country. 1%. You signed up and you're paying the mortgage. When you signed up, you were willing to die for this country. It doesn't matter if you went into the service to get an education. It doesn't matter if you were drafted during the Vietnam War, even World War II. You still went. You didn't go to Canada. You didn't hide in some back street in some rotten town like San Francisco or something like that. You went in. All right? And if it wasn't for you doing that, this country would go to hell. 1% of the population joins the service. You sacrificed. Young kids here, 75 years ago, this December 7th is when Pearl Harbor was attacked. 1950 was the Korean War. These men, the Marines and some Army units in the Chosin Reservoir, when they fought there, 25 to 30 degrees below zero without the wind chill. When they got up to the Chosin Reservoir area, 100,000 Chinese attacked the Marines, surrounded them. And the general of the Marines says, well, we can just fight in any direction. Vietnam came along and they asked us to go over Vietnam. Now you're talking 100 and some odd degrees, humid, filthy. We came back, the American people did not like us. It was the first time in American history that the veterans were spit on, where the veterans were called baby killers, where the veterans were, people were afraid to hire veterans because they thought that particular era, thought we were crazy. It's like I say again, it's a small majority of us that join the service. And if it wasn't for you, we would not have the ability to walk down the streets safely. We can go any place we want in this country safely, until some idiot comes along. Once in a while you have that. So I just want to say thank you very much for your service. People have a misunderstanding too. Memorial Day, actually you have Armed Forces Day. That's the day we salute the people who are in the service. Then you have Memorial Day. That's the day we salute the fallen. And I wish there was another word people could say instead of saying Happy Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not happy. And I wish they would stop having Memorial Day sales on TV. That's not the day for it. If you're going to give service, bring back the dead. If you're going to have a sale. You can't. Today, or actually November the 11th, next week, is our day. The veterans, ladies and gentlemen who served this great country. So I would like to say thank you very much for your service. I appreciate the freedom that you have provided for us. And I salute everyone that was in the service. I have one more thing to say. A good friend of mine, I'm proud to call him a true friend, was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And this coming November the 10th, Marine Corps birthday, is going to be inducted into the Marine Corps Hall of Fame for what he did in Vietnam. Joe, will you please stand up? All right, Dodge, stand up. And you know, when you were in the service, or when you're always saying, you're cutting down the other branches of the service, always. The Marines are cutting down the Navy people, and the Navy are cutting down the Marines. The Air Force have it so easy. The Army is this and that. And when something happens, if somebody hurts one of our people, the service gets together and we'll take care of it then. And I'm proud to say that. I could hassle my buddy Joe here. I'm always, when I try to give him directions of what we're going to be doing, I say, you have your crayons with you, Joe, because the Marines always need crayons to put down what they're going to do. And actually, he does have a little set of crayons from the Cracker Barrel. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.